further in the relationship, you realize that this was one of the early signs to kind of seclude you and to prevent you from interacting, you know, with your outer world and your normal world, and individuals who you would have deemed to be very close and good to you from you were born until now. This person want to be everything, and so, you know, move your way, secludes you, and have you to, you know, the total self. And at the time, I really loved that.
You did
I
feel
felt special. I loved that I had this one person for myself, and this one person who was at my, if for want of a better term, my beck and call, you know. And so I really enjoyed what seemed to be healthy security, because there was always some danger lurking around that, you know, this partner always wanted to protect you from.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
This is an
So
interesting
those,
discussion. Go ahead, please.
yes, so really those are signs, but I couldn't interpret and read them to be, you know, signs to say that, hey, this person wants to secure you and isolate you so that, you know, they can manipulate and do what they want to do to you. That is how I, you know, later on
Yes. What I
interpret.
hear you to be saying, and which I wish the listeners to be mindful of, is
Yes,
the fact that some of the very things that appears to be good,
right.
because you are in love and it feels so good to you at
Yes.
the time. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they say that when people are getting married, they put on blinkers. And it says that the word, even the word personality, is really comes from a word which means a mask. And when at that early stage when people are putting their best foot forward, sometimes they
Yes.
put on the best mask. And that's why professional counseling persons who can help you to interpret, introduce them to your family and your friend and so on. Not that it makes you immune, but it will
Yes.
give you additional eyes, additional ears, and so on.
Perspectives.
But what about the thing that says that, you know, marriage is really between two people? And so what this person was doing was really perfecting this marriage. I don't want nobody else involved in it. You know, would you not have something to say about that? Only two and two, no more than two, and nobody mustn't come at the yard and so on. Taken to that extreme, that is risky, don't it?
Very risky. I must share with you that one of the things that, while I was in the relationship and while I was going through, you know, what I was going through, depression and all, my former husband would say to me that I can't share, I shouldn't share. It is really that I'm taking the family's business out.
Yes.
And so you were advised, and sternly so, not to share with individuals
Anybody.
outside, because that is going against the grain of a good marriage and a
Mm,
good marital relationship.
mm,
And so, you know, I come to realize that, look, when it is that you are in uh, this union, you will still need outside support,
yes.
so that you
To
are
interpret
not,
stuff, to at least get another perspective on stuff
that
and so on.
that is so. And
Let me
so,
remind our listeners that the numbers to call are 968-8327 and 8328, and the WhatsApp number is 997-3125. My special guest tonight is none other than a woman of God and educator. She is Dr. Euphemia Robinson, and we are trusting that you will enrich the program by sending in your usual messages. Thank you so much, Doc, for giving us that kind of initial perspective. But I have a question to ask. What at what stage did you realize you were in a intimate partner violent relationship? What now send that clear message to you that says no, sir?
okay, uh, thanks for that, because what I do remember is that while we were living together, the first time when I was physically uh, abused,
Assaulted. You said an
assaulted,
assault, yes.
right?
Yes.
I didn't
Beaten
think,
up, because we have to call it as it is now that we are out, you know. We're not
yes,
afraid to call it.
right.
You were attacked.
I was attacked.
Yeah.
I didn't see it as abuse. I thought that, you know, it was something that happened. I thought it was spontaneous. I thought it would never happen again.
Yes.
So even at that time, when I got that first physical assault encounter, I didn't see that as abuse. But it was when it continued. So when it first happened, you knew, you were convinced that that is something that happened out of the blue, and you're also convinced that it would never happen again. As a matter of fact, you were told so. You were told that
and
it would
the
never
phase
happen.
of you go through a phase of apologies and
Yes,
making up
right.
promises, right? And sometimes that's the best time of the relationship.
And so it happened again, and you still tell yourself that the term abuse and all those things don't come into, certainly my mind didn't come into my mind even at the second time, probably not even the third time. But there came a time when I was listening to this program, and when I listened, I remember that Aluna Sumba, she was a guest on this program that I was listening to. And what she recounted and shared were some incidents similar to what I was experiencing. And she said that, you know, when this thing happens, once the person is that type of a person, it will not change. The cycle will continue. And
by itself, as long as they don't some intervention, it's not going to change. I want the listeners to be hearing this.
Right.
Without intervention, it is not going to change by itself. That is what the expert I'm speaking to has said.
Yes. And so it was at that time I realized that, look, I was in this thing. It actually had a name. It actually had, you know, a lot of literature around it, and this was my reality. You know?
I would like you to us to dwell a little on that realization component, because you know there are people who right now may be listening to us who have been through, is going through, and still don't realize what it is that they are going through. And you said you were experiencing the isolation.
Yes.
Was there jealousy and controlling and manipulating?
Jealousy, controlling. I recall that at the time I was studying for the majority of the engagement and the marital engagement, I'm making reference to. And I would have, you know, would be taken to my place of study. And if there comes a time when I said I want to travel, take public transport, I would be cautioned, no, you know, it's so unsafe. There was a time when I wanted
what a loving, caring, protective.
If there came a time when I wanted to even probably go to the hairdresser, you know, it would say, no, I am taking you. And I also realized that once it is that I am home, the grills are locked, and you know, I'm alone at home, and the grills are locked. Once it is that I am in that house behind those bars, then that's the only time I'm seen to be safe. You know, and that is the situation. That was the situation.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little, because you know, one of the things that people would say, but you want to tell me, say, you never see no sign, you know, with all that, you never see anything yet. You know, I suggest, I'm asking, is it that because it was not like ongoing like a train moving, and sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down, why it was difficult to interpret? Did you have that kind of experience? Because in between that, there were things that were happening, which says, so good things can be happening and the relationship is still abusive. That's what you're saying.
Right, right, right. So, and then because of the varied and the numerous expressions of love too,
Yeah,
then you didn't classify it
I
as that.
interpret that.
Right, and that is in the early stage, you know. You when the abuse start, you don't classify it as abuse because there is the commitment that it will not happen again. There is the asking for forgiveness. There is
Mhm.
the penitence. There is all of those things that cause you to think that this is a one-time occurrence
Mhm.
and that it will never happen again. And so you don't think that it will reach that stage where it will also take on the name and
Yes,
can be described as such.
yes. Were you at a stage where you saw it as abuse, but you just feel you could deal with it?
Yes. So after I learned, no, feeling that I could deal with it, maybe that's one thing. But after a time, you know, I realized that yes, it was abuse, and I tried. And
You tried.
so I am not so sure if I thought I could have dealt with it, but what I know that I did, I sought counseling. That
Yes.
was one thing that, you know, I one approach that I thought I would have tried. I prayed about it.
Yes.
Yes,
You're saying exactly what I'm saying, because one of the things that victims go through is a
yes,
phase where they feel that it's not the best relationship, but I can make it better by trying my best. And so
yes,
you are, some people are listening to us and they are in a phase of abuse,
yes,
and some are in a phase of I am trying and I believe it's going to change. I have been promised and I trust God and
yes,
to change. So you went through that phase
yes.
that
So
I'm going to try. I'm going to do everything in my powers
right,
to make it work. Okay.
right, because you see, faith is very real. So you have the faith, and the
Yes.
thing about it is that you know that God is going to have you come out with a testimony
Yes.
that said,
You know the
"Oh,
phrase. If you don't go through a test.
you don't have a testimony," and so this is your test, so that you can
Yes.
emerge with that testimony.
Daniel went to the lions then and come
He
out and
he came out with a testimony. So
right.
you are the next
Big
Danisha
power.
that will come out with your
Yeah,
testimony.
and so on. And then until it get to a stage where you feel helpless and so
Yes,
on.
you knew you tried for the counseling. You would arrange them, and there would have been agreement that yes, we need to access the counseling. And then as the days, you know, you get closer to the counseling, you hear that, oh no, you can't go to counseling, you're wasting my time, I do
Mm.
not have time for this. And so you know, you fall back into the state where you said, oh my God, I wonder if this thing is hopeless, until you reach to the point where you realize that it is
What you're saying
hopeless.
is one of the things that a number of couples don't recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Many times, men, the psychological, emotional, neurological makeup of men,
Yes,
problem solving men, the dominant man,
yes,
does not wish to put himself in a position of counseling because he is not the dominant force in the counseling arena. And it may require things that is not consistent with his logic. So a lot of men don't want to go.
right,
And you may be in a relationship now, you believe counseling is what is required, and you are struggling because the
right.
person either don't come or don't take it serious. And I want you to know it's not your fault. They'll often blame you and say, well, it's you, why they not come, and Ben can't solve it and that kind of thing. Do not blame yourself, because men do not readily do that. So I want to put you in, if I may, mentally, to help us to understand the mind of the abused person. How
Yes.
did it feel when you become aware and you look in the mirror and realize you're looking at an abused woman? And my listeners, there's nothing on this wonderful woman of God that would say to you abuse. You know, this was someone who I'm looking at her, I'm seeing her, and I'm telling you, there's no sign on her. So people could be in church lifting up holy hands and worshiping, you know, from the pulpit to the pew. And no, but you were one of those lifting up hands and worshiping and everything and carry on and doing good in the public but hurting on the
Yes,
inside.
yes. Can I
So
tell you that I had the experience of being hospitalized for a short period as a result of, you know, just the abuse.
mm,
I
I'm
sustained
so sorry to hear.
a blow to my ear that caused bleeding from my eardrum on the inside,
Mm,
and I ended up with my eyes black and blue
mm,
and all of those things. And you know, you find the necessary excuse
mhm.
to uh to cover up, because you didn't
You
want anybody
you told
to
people around you other
to
things to
right,
cover up.
right, because it is an embarrassing thing. That's number
Yeah.
one. It's very embarrassing. You don't want anybody to know that you are going through this thing.
Yes.
That is that I experienced that.
I'm going to
Then
take
it
you to
reached
that.
to the say
Go
that
ahead.
again.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And then it reached to the point where I I gave up on life.
Mm,
I gave up on life and I wanted my life to end. But the
wow.
thing about it is that I couldn't take it,
Mm.
you know? And
You couldn't take your
so,
own life, that is.
right, I couldn't take my own life.
There was
And
something in you which was resilient and did not
yes,
believe you should leave this earth
right,
because of this.
right, right.
But it must be the
Um,
grace of God, though, because it must be
I
difficult.
I
To
give God
think through.
thanks.
Mm,
But what I had, I and there's another thing to it too. I was financially dependent
mm,
on my spouse at the time. And so I say to myself that if it is that I survive, because I was looking on becoming independent on the
mhm.
horizon, but it's you know, it was not near. And so I talked to God and I prayed and I said, you know what, if I live to be at a
To get
point
to a stage of
where
independence.
I become independent, then
Mm.
I know that I might live. But otherwise, I think that I was confident that I was going to die.
You know,
So
I know you want to move on, but this needs to be spoken to our listeners
yes,
because certainly as a woman, as a person getting into a relationship, you find a man that's so rare, especially if you're in church, and the man is not only good looking, but he has means. It would be difficult for you to not feel that this is God's choice. And what I hear you to be saying is that you have to be careful when there is um, financial imbalance or you are a dependent on the person. And it's not that, you know, both don't become one and his things is yours things and your things is his things. And it's not that you should be planning to get out of a marriage, but you should be mindful of the challenges when you get into a relationship that elevates you to a lifestyle that makes you a dependent on someone and you really make little or no equivalent contribution or you're not in a position to make it.
right,
You must bear in mind that there are challenges because there are people who are listening to who feel trapped because they got in and now they do not have the wherewithal to get out. So
right.
you're going on to say that you recognize the importance of while you were suffering, you saw the importance of bettering yourself.
Yes, yes. So I
It's
saw
fighting
that.
up. That is fighting up. That is something inside of you fighting.
Yes,
So tell me
yes,
about that process.
right. And so I, so while I was in it, and I knew that with the information that this thing might not change and it might just define what my life
Mm-hmm.
from here on in. I said I decided to look on how it is that I could escape
Mm-hmm.
call it that.
I,
And
I wanted to go to the escape, but I want to pause a bit
yes,
to speak to before the escape. What was it like being around somebody who you now know is an abuser and you could not escape?
okay. So let me tell you, number one, you are always told that whatever happens, it is your fault. And so,
Okay.
because of that, you try to walk cautiously. You try to speak cautiously.
Mm,
Let me give you an example. If it is that I'm picked up at, say, from my place of study, where I was at the
mhm,
time, and I would wait and I would enter the car, and then I had to skillfully analyze and assess the situation
mhm.
before I utter something, because I may just say the wrong thing,
Wrong thing.
and then I get into a lot. And you see, you notice I'm saying I get into a
Yeah.
lot of trouble.
Things and needles you're walking on.
So you have to be so careful,
Mm,
so that was, you had to be careful, and it is careful just to ensure that you preserve you,
mhm.
because if you make a mistake, the blows can
Well,
be
will come.
detrimental.
You're
Yes,
talking about fear then.
yes, fear. The other thing is that you're always looking for an escape route. So we don't reach the escaping as yet. So,
Yes.
and escape route meaning that if there's a holiday, I will look and negotiate that I would go and spend this holiday with somebody,
Trying to be away
anybody, just
from.
to be
Yes.
away from, right?
Yes.
So that is, that's one thing. And the other thing that you try to do, in your in with whatever skills you have, you do the writing to the person. You write, you try to share,
Mhm,
even
mhm,
though sometimes it appears as though it's to no end, and you're
mhm,
not seeing any
mhm.
result, but you do still try to let the person see that you are really hurting, and for what it's worth, you may get some comforting
Mhm,
words and
mhm.
get some words to reassure you that it will not happen again, even
You know,
though that is something that you would have become accustomed to.
unfortunately, the matter of being an abuser can almost be perceived as a kind of illness. For the
Yes,
mind of the listener, it's like a diabetic.
yes,
Once you have a taste or once you have become an abuser, there are symptoms that will not readily go away. There are behaviors that is difficult. And so they too are helpless, but is you
yes,
getting the beaten. And I say helpless, mean not to be sorry for, but to be afraid of because they cannot control themselves. And the notion that you can change them is one that you have to be very careful of. I want to share some words that are common to people who are abused, and you tell me if you know these. Shame,
yes, yes,
self-blame.
yes,
You went through a period of self-blame.
yes,
Confusion.
yes.
Did you feel vulnerable? Like, boy, anytime now, anything can happen to you.
And yes, anytime now, anything, and vulnerable to the point that you feel that maybe this day might be your last
Your
day.
last day.
Any day might be your last day.
Did you feel powerless?
Very powerless.
Did you go into voluntary isolation? So all the things that friend wanted you to do, you just become compliant. Did you try to just submit everything and just surrender, hoping that you might not be beaten up?
Yes, but that was in the initial part, then there would have been
You went
retaliation. But
through some of that. Or you went through some retaliation at times.
right,
Did it
right.
help?
Say that again.
Did you try to fight back?
Yes, yes.
It helped.
No, it didn't help. It didn't help at
Would
all.
you recommend to somebody that says, boy, if you throw a blow, you throw back one because you might just, or you just see it as an end and decide to look, deal with it from another perspective?
you see this thing about learned helplessness?
Yes.
I think that I reached to that point. So in the initial phase, I would, defend myself even verbally,
Yes.
and all of that. And then when I did that, it turned out to be negative. And so over time, you learn to conform and learn
Yes.
to operate within the triangle and the parameters
Yes.
that you think are safe.
And just to help our listeners to understand the concept of learned helplessness is the state where you mentally believe you have done everything you can do and nothing has changed. And so all the things that you are trying to do to help yourself infuses you with a sense of helplessness. And that is why they call it learned. You arrive, you come to it over time, and you feel like there's nothing more you can try. So you just curl up like a ball, either physically or internally, as you are being abused. Did you go into those anger moments?
No. I think
anger with yourself, anger at him, anger at the world, anger with God.
No.
Never go through that.
No.
Denial. What about denial? Well, give me one if you're going to say.
Yes. So denial in the initial phase.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Are you in love?
Right. So I was in love, and then with the kind of commitment again after to say that, hey, it's not going to happen again. So I was in denial.
Denial. And of course, where did you go? Homicidal thoughts or suicidal? You see, tell me suicidal. Did you go homicidal like you would have did perhaps one day sleeping and you would have just
oh gosh. I had to talk to God seriously and ask for forgiveness.
Yes.
About the thoughts that I had.
Right. Good Christian
towards this person, because
educated young lady like you were thinking of committing
murder. I thought about it. I harbored the thought. It grew and it grew, and even as I sit here now, I am not so sure if it is that I would not have acted on those thoughts if I did not get out of the situation. But I thought
God intervened.
I stayed in my quiet time, and I planned how I am going to just end his life, because he was making my life so miserable. When it is that you were vivacious, effervescent, and you were lively and hoping for a beautiful, wonderful marriage, and this is what was meted out to you. I had serious thoughts about how I would end his life. And
it is 10:43, and we are happy to have you. It would be so nice to hear from you. My guest tonight, in case you're not just joining me, is none other than Dr. Euphemia Robinson. And I am encouraging you to call our numbers. Would you like for us to take a break? That's a brief break, and then we come right back. You're doing wonderful.
Thank you.
The public is not hearing this experience. We only have the public not hearing this experience.
Okay.
We can talk.
Okay.
He's gonna bring me back in a little while. So we're going to go now to look at
best to your family and to make them happy. With Colgate Triple Action, you give them 3 reasons to smile: cavity protection, whiter teeth, and fresh breath. A unique formula with a minty flavor they will love. Colgate Triple Action. Find it at your favorite store.
Wait, what you doing here? I come to start out a license. You little thing me I try start. But them no want help me.
That's not right. You talk to the manager?
Yes, say him too busy. But as a money man walk in, them run can help him.
Everybody have the right to fair and just treatment. I saw the Constitution go. Come, we're going down there. And this time I have to help you and treat you with respect.
Everybody have rights. Brought to you by the National Family Planning Board and the Office of the Public Defender.
Reverend, please check the chat. Thank you.
You don't need to honk your horn as the light changes. Be humble, gentle, and patient. Bear with one another in love, as we are instructed in Ephesians 4 and verse 2. Let's work together to make Jamaica a gentler, kinder society. A message from the Church of the Open Bible, 12 Washington Boulevard. Join our worship service Sundays at 8 a.m. right here on Love 101.
Cares about you. He cares about you.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Counselor, aired on your family station, Love 101. This is the station that gives you an opportunity to have your needs, your prayers being met. Please remember that we are aired live into the hours of 10 and 11, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Our contact numbers are 968-8327 and 968-8328. You may WhatsApp us at 997-3125. Tonight I have a special guest as we continue to shed light on gender-based domestic intimate partner violence. We have none other than a mother and educator. She is Dr. Euphemia Robinson, and she's been sharing her experience. And I believe that we have had persons who have been listening who have been immensely blessed. Some of which have sent some messaging that I would like to share with you. Yes, before we share those messages, we have a caller. A pleasant afternoon to you too. Welcome to Love 101. Yes. We are doing so fine, and you? God be praised. But for prayer, it must be a very terrible thing to suddenly lose a loved one, more so a child. And so we share family, Love 101 family. Yeah. Let me encourage the family of Love 101 to please pray. Thank you so much for letting us know. The family online will be praying. Thank you so much. Oh my. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for calling. And I promise you, and I'm asking the family online, please to pray. We have some messages from persons who have been listening, and someone there we have some agreement. So we are sharing some of those amens with you. Those of us at third line. It says good advice and counseling. Staying in an abusive relationship or marriage can never be healthy. And then someone says, good night, counselor. Can you ask your guests, in addition to the close marking and isolation signs, were there other signs that there were that the person is looking back? And yes, the person points to several of them, the excessive love. And close marking speak a lot of it to it. But if you want to respond about anything that you think about that you may not have mentioned, And then someone wants to know, how has this experience impacted or changed you? We're getting into that. How has it made you a better or stronger? Or has it made you a better, stronger? And someone wants to know, what suggestion would you make for persons to be safe? And we're going to be getting into, perhaps we could get into that right now. Has this made you into a better, stronger woman?
Certainly, Rev, certainly. I often say that I didn't know that I had the strength inside of me that was demonstrated to just, along with the other support that I got, to just use the support from my family and my friends. And family meaning, my siblings and, the extended family. When I ultimately divulge and share with them all of what I, went through, my family, they surrounded me and they, buttress and supported me in, just getting back
because
on
initially you didn't share with them because?
No,
because?
I didn't share with my family because two major things. One, I think that they would have taken my side and they would have encouraged me to leave. And so it would have been, they would have impressed upon me to leave the relationship. That's two. And the other thing is that I had a child. And so I didn't want to leave. And as I said before, I was not financially independent. And so I didn't want to have to leave and to further burden my family with
right.
child and myself. So those things. And then, it would have caused them a lot of unease, just knowing that I was in that situation.
You raised a question that I wanted to ask.
Yes.
About the child factor, because that has caused many persons to remain in abusive situations. Did you have that to contend with?
Yes, I must say to you, and then goes back to what I was sharing about, just planning the escape. Before I left, I really did make a list, and I tabulated on one side the things that why I should stay, and on the other side the things why I should go. And I must share with you that the things that spoke to why I should leave, that list was so long. And as to why I should stay, there was one thing on that side, and that was the child that we shared. But what I noted about my list is that that was also on the side. Right.
Because he didn't want the child to
right. So I didn't want my child to, two things. I didn't want my child to see me in this kind of a relationship and come to think that it is normal. And the other thing I didn't want her to do either is to come to see me in this relationship and to lose respect for me, to say how I could allow myself to remain in this kind of a relationship.
I love what you're saying, because the truth is a lot of persons use a child as a reason to stay. But you're saying when you thought of it, for you, a strong reason to leave was the child. For those who are listening, who are having the same challenges, here is someone who had a child, and the child was not a reason to stay more than a reason to leave.
Right.
When we expose our children to these kind of abuse, they also themselves take on the persona of either the abuser or the abused. So you could actually be raising a child who learned now to be a victim if you did not only escape but rescue your child as well.
Right.
The person also asked, what suggestion would you make for help victim survivors to come forward? Would you advise them to come forward to get help? Would you, I like the thing about the list. If you
Yes.
begin to make your list, why should you stay? Why should you leave? And even to find somebody to discuss the list with.
Yes.
Would you advise them to do what? To keep quiet and don't share it with anybody, no matter how they are being threatened?
No. So what I would advise, Rev, I would advise counseling. And again, I cannot overemphasize the idea of a trained counselor.
Yes.
Because the truth is that you may share with somebody and the person cannot manage the information. The person may counsel you in a way that they instruct you.
Yes.
They instruct different from counsel you. And so that is the reason why I think that individuals must be careful, just with who they share this information. Another thing again, you may have close friends and they are invested themselves in this relationship. And so they may handle it in a way that is less than professional handling. And so it might turn a bad situation worse.
Yes.
And so what I would say to individuals is that you can speak to a trained person. For me, I had the propensity to talk to persons who I don't know at all and who don't know me.
In desperation.
But that was not.
Frustration.
Say that again, Rev.
Desperation and frustration. You're just reaching out.
Yes. And so I remember at one point I was going to this seminar and I said to myself, any person I room with, I'm going to share what
share with them.
Right.
And there's a thing called a drowning man clutching at a straw approach.
Right.
Help.
Right. And there is also some security in that, because after you leave, the person don't know you and you don't know the person. The person is not invested in the situation. So
that's why professional help is necessary. And I want to suggest to our listeners, all month I've been suggesting free professional help, because whilst professional help costs, there is available for domestic violence, free professional help.
Yes.
Through the Victim Services Division in the Ministry of Justice. It's free, confidential, and professional. The number to reach these people are 876-946-0663. If you call the number, they will respond to you. They will put you on to a counselor in your parish, wherever you are in Jamaica. And these counselors will see you for how many sessions, and you will pay not $1 for these professional counseling sessions. They will take you through a mechanism that helps you to appreciate what it is to be free. You have 30 seconds to speak directly to my listeners and tell them to please do not stay and be beaten. Seek help and trust God.
And let me just share that I am convinced that had I stayed in this relationship, I would not have had the opportunity to be speaking to you this evening. So that's number one. And so I sought help, and I was able to benefit tremendously from this help. And so that is the reason why I can speak now. So
thank you so much, Doc. It is our pleasure to have had you. And there are so many things we wanted to explore. Perhaps we should consider having you another time. But I want to pray for someone. I want to pray. We want to pray. Every one of us who are online tonight who knows what it is to pray, let us look to the Lord in prayer. Father, we thank you for a survivor that is among us, who can bear witness. Lord, we pray that as she spoke, persons will feel strength in their bones, in their ankles, in their hearts, in their minds, in their spirit, and they will rise from out of the ashes and seek help professional help. Lord, we pray not only for these who are domestic violence sufferers, but we did hear of the loss of a little boy and the need for us to just cover that family with some peace right now, the capacity to persevere. Thank you tonight, Lord, for the program. We trust it reached and touched someone and made a difference in the lives of persons who are listening. This is Love 101, your family station. You are listening to the program, The Counselor. Join you next week, Tuesday, as we continue to look at domestic violence. Thank you so much, Michelle, for your support tonight.
Bless you, sir.
God bless you.
Do have yourself a wonderful weekend now.
God, thank you. This is my heart online.
Can you feel mine?
Yes, I can. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.